1902, the year the South African War ended. It was also the year that a small but very important company was founded. A company that was to change the economic landscape of South Africa, and one that is still leading the way today. After the war ended, a British major, Ernest Billy Barlow, decided to stay in South Africa. Now, he married an attractive young Irish girl who'd come out as a nurse to work in the concentration camps. Ernest Barlow started a small company called Thomas Barlow and Sons in Durban.
He got together a team and started the first real conglomerate in the country.
The company was based on the family business of the same name in London and initially traded in laundry materials and blankets. And whilst travelling on his bicycle, Billy made many friends and soon expanded the business to include engineering components. Then came 1914 and World War I. Like any other patriot, Billy joined the South African Army and went off to fight for his country. At the Battle of Delville Wood, he was badly wounded and the only surviving officer in his company. Unfortunately, when he returned to South Africa, he never fully recovered from his wounds and died in 1921. His eldest son, Charles Sidney Barlow, known as Punch because his sister was called Judy, joined the business after he finished his education at Cambridge in 1927. The same year that Thomas Barlow and Sons secured the Caterpillar dealership for South Africa. I wonder if they knew then how important that relationship would become in the future.
And Caterpillar was a small company then, and they've grown into a massive worldwide thing, and Barlow's, as their dealer, has grown with them. Now, from a Barlow point of view, our strength has always been we were considered to be one of Caterpillar's top dealers.
Punch was known to be a man of his word and did many deals on the strength of a handshake.
Tremendous person, in all ways. Great personality and a great leader. I have no hesitation in saying one of the leaders, business leaders of South Africa.
I think Mr. Barlow preferred almost to set an example, a personal example of integrity and straightforward business dealings. And it set a moral tone for the organization.
He concentrated on selling tractors for cash and actually sold his first tractor by challenging a farmer that his Caterpillar could outplow a team of oxen. In the 30s, the Great Recession hit. Punch was known to have said, and I quote, "We were very broke and had to take reduced salaries. It was pretty disastrous. We even had to stop having tea in the office."
Punch came from a family of humble beginnings, and I think when you've got that as part of your character, you're able to take difficult decisions and do what's right for the business through difficult times. And you know, if you're a company that's lasted 110 years, you've gone through great depressions and other difficult times, and you've got to dig deep and do what's right for the business over those times. And he was obviously somebody that had the character and tenacity to do that, and it's one of the reasons we've survived for so long.
These difficult times taught Punch about capital and cash flow, but more importantly, they confirmed his belief that people are the most important part of Barlow's. He strived for an educated, motivated, loyal workforce where people are recognized. This set the tone for the way Barlow's did business right up until the modern day.
People have always been at the heart of the Barloworld business, and that stems back to the Punch Barlow days. People for him were at the core of everything we do, and while we've always distributed great products, at the end of the day what differentiates us in terms of our offering to our customer base is our people.
This is the Barloworld Archives. It's where much of the company's history is kept and preserved. Barlow's continued to grow and expanded into other areas of business, and in 1941 the company was listed on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. It was truly a period of diversification. Punch Barlow's 1960s chairman's statement pointed the way by saying, "It is our policy to continue to expand the group and to seek further opportunities for investment in well-managed companies that have good growth and future prospects." By 1963, the company's turnover was 47 million rand, of which 70% was contributed by Caterpillar. The Caterpillar business was by now fairly large, and Barlow's continued to diversify. In the following years, many companies were added to the Barlow's family. Names such as Robor, Federated Timbers. Barlow's managed brands like Kelvinator and started manufacturing white goods such as stoves, refrigerators, and also electrical goods, televisions. Barlow's was everywhere. Barlow's also acquired more motor businesses. They formed a joint venture with Heister. Mining and engineering businesses also played a major role in the success. And then came another milestone. Barlow's acquired Rand Mines, South Africa's oldest mining house, and the company was renamed Barlow Rand.
It was Barlow's first foray into mining. You know, up until that point in time, we had been an industrial company and industrial assets, and this took us into mining, which was the heart of the South African economy, and therefore was a real milestone acquisition for the group.
Throughout the 70s, the group's focus moved away from distribution towards local manufacture, with manufacturing now accounting for almost 60% of turnover for the group. The expansion continued, with Barlow's managing such iconic brands as PPC, General Electric, Nampak, Plascon, Barlow's consumer electronic products, Oshkosh trucks, and even included food and pharmaceutical products, as they owned companies like Adcock Ingram and Tiger Oats. At one point, it was calculated that 1 in every 3 spoonfuls of food sold in South Africa came from the Barlow's group. And throughout all this expansion, the Caterpillar side of the business continued to grow. The headquarters of the group at that time was situated in Braamfontein.
Parking isn't very easy in that area. And one day Punch said to me, "I've had enough. We've got to move out."
An initiative to buy a piece of farmland out here was quite a bold step. I understand that Mr. Rothschild got into trouble because he paid 175,000 rand for this entire property. And the move was made in 1977.
It was Sir Harry Oppenheimer who officially opened Barlow Park, which is still the headquarters today. 1977 was the 50th anniversary of our association with Caterpillar Tractors and the 75th anniversary of Thomas Barlow and Sons. In 1978, Barlow Rand's Group Code of Employment Practice was introduced, which gave workers of all races equal rights and access to opportunity, which was ahead of its time in South Africa.
And one of the things that is holding South Africa back is that we haven't developed black people into society because of apartheid and all that sort of thing. And the one area where Barlow's worked very hard was the educational side, and clearly on the underprivileged.
Barlow's has always strived to be a good corporate citizen and was seen as a leader with vision and commitment in the community. Throughout the 70s till today, the company's social investment program has grown and adapted to the changing social challenges of our society.
If I look back on Barlow's, coming out of the change of government and all that, one of the most important things we did was really to make life different for black people, particularly in schooling. I think we were ahead of the game.
Again, I want to thank Barloworld because this is not the only project in which they have been involved. They have participated in many worthy projects.
Originally, it focused on contributing towards better educational opportunities for the majority of South Africans, as well as entrepreneurship projects and the delivery of urban housing. Today, it includes the support of healthcare, environmental, and leadership development.
Mr. Barlow said to me, "Would you be interested in some sort of scholarship or bursary program. And in fact, I said yes, and became in fact bursar number 1 for Thomas Barlow and Son. And they looked after my university career, 65, 66 and 67.
Meantime, companies like Wren Brothers in the USA and Bibby and Sons in the UK, with its material handling and scientific divisions, were added to the group. By the mid-80s, Barlow Rand was the biggest industrial company in South Africa, employing some 245,000 people, which in those days would have made it the 4th largest company in the USA and number 79 on the list of Fortune 500 companies. That's quite an achievement, considering its humble beginnings selling blankets and greatcoats in Durban.
And so really from humble beginnings, we've really had a very proud and expansionary time over the last 110 years.
Barlow's had become a true multinational, while still retaining its South African heritage. Towards the end of the 80s, the group consolidated, concentrating on doing the basic things better and improving communication with employees. And before the end of the decade, turnover was almost 30 billion rand a year. In the early 90s, the group acquired a share in NBS, the Natal Building Society, and also purchased Finanzauto, the company holding the Caterpillar equipment franchise in Iberia. 3 decades of expansion and diversification meant that Barlow's had become a very successful company because of its sound management philosophies and its people. Not many people know about the role that the company played in politics, though.
Barlow Park was looked upon as being quite a nice place for people to meet. In fact, you know, when the constitutional talks were taking place, this was with Mandela, de Klerk and all that, a lot of that took place at Barlow's. In that era where all these issues were bubbling up, Barlow's had a voice.
Many of the people that were involved in Barlow's at the time believed that the company had a not too insignificant role in helping the country through that transitional period.
Oh, one of the things that prison did was to concentrate my mind on things that have to be done and to have the resolve to do them. And when I looked at Barloworld, and I thought that it was one of the companies that could make that difference, that would make the quantum leap and assist in narrowing the gap between the haves and the have-nots, not only by what it would do, but by the kind of example that it would set.
Barlow's also underwent a major transformation in 1994 and restructured the group into a number of independent, self-financed and clearly focused businesses, each serving markets in which they had particular strengths or were the market leaders.
Barlow Rand essentially split into 4 different groupings. So the mining assets were spun off and separately listed. The Roynit was spun off and listed, and C.G. Smith, which then included Ilovo Sugar and Adcock Ingram Pharmaceuticals and Nampak, was spun off as a separate listed entity. And then the remaining assets were retained in what was renamed at the time Barlow Limited.
It was like a family. Suddenly each child became a person on its own.
Before the end of the century was a period of globalization. Barlow's became a true multinational with a strong South African base and operations principally in the UK, Europe, the USA and Australia. Caterpillar had expanded its footprint throughout the Southern African region and Iberia, and also got a foothold in the Russian-Siberian territories. At the turn of the century, a decision was made to give the company a new identity. Barlow's was rebranded to Barloworld, with a payoff line of leading brands, which perfectly portrayed the newly structured group's key strengths and intentions.
With a very specific intention of trying to draw this group together, to get people to work together, to get people to understand that they had a common set of shareholders and that we should have reasonably common sets of objectives.
In 2002, Barloworld celebrated 100 years of success and a 75-year partnership with Caterpillar. The goal to double the value of the company in 4 years for 4 stakeholders, or 2x4x4, was implemented, adding incredible value to employees, shareholders, as well as suppliers and the community.
The automotive and logistics business, a milestone acquisition there was the acquisition of Avis, the listed company Avis on the stock exchange in 2004. That's been integrated with the motor retail business, and more recently we integrated that with our logistics division, trying to extract the synergies, and we've made some niche acquisitions in logistics which are going to stand us in good stead in the years to come.
In the first part of the 21st century, we really saw the value of this company not explode, but earnings were doubled. They were doubled again between 01 and 05, and they were well on the way to doubling between 05 and 09.
In 2004, the Cat dealership territory was doubled to almost 10 million square kilometers, an area larger than the USA.
We now, the single distributor of Caterpillar trucks and everything from Caterpillar in that area, in the entirety of Siberia, huge territory.
I think it covers 6, 7, 8 time zones. It's really absolutely vast.
I've been up in the coal mines of there, where you could only stay outside for a very short time.
And for us to be the sole distributor of Caterpillar equipment is quite a significant development.
That will be one of the landmarks that will define this organization, Barloworld, as a really big global player in the capital equipment business.
And then in 2007, there was another major restructuring of the group. And at that time, we separately spun off PPC Cement as its own self-standing listed entity, and also the Plascon paint assets, which were listed on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange as Freeworld Coatings. We sold off the scientific assets, and essentially we're left with what the historical core of Barloworld being our distribution businesses, which were the Caterpillar materials handling, motor interests, and our recently developed logistics assets.
And I think it's lean and mean.
Another very visible milestone, which I'm sure everyone remembers, was in 2007, when Team Barloworld became the first South African team in history to be admitted into the Tour de France. The team raised Barloworld's standing worldwide and instilled massive pride internally, as well as with the South African public, even going so far as to win a stage.
Barloworld are having a dream tour. He's got it on the line. The wildcard team have got a second stage win.
The last couple of years have seen a strong focus on developing skills and training, with the Leadership Development Centre being launched,
of leadership,
where our employees are exposed to professional development programs. The Centre for Technical Learning on Barloworld's Equipment Campus in Isando also teaches much-needed skills.
So we're training not only for the nation, incidentally, but also for Southern Africa, because at Isando, we have people from all the SADC countries.
There is also considerable investment in the equipment division, specifically in this, the Barloworld Reman Centre, one of the largest facilities in the global Cat dealership network.
South Africa needs to develop the skills. We need skilled people. The education has left a lot to be desired.
The chairman of Caterpillar personally travelled to South Africa to officially open the facility, which will cater for engine, hydraulic and drivetrain rebuilds.
We have a growth in front of us, both of us, that I think in our lifetimes, in our working lifetimes, nobody's experienced. We've come to South Africa to celebrate a little bit.
I'm tremendously proud of the achievements of Barloworld and Caterpillar over the last 85 years.
Our competitive advantage is what Barloworld does. Serve our customers, represent us, sell to them, make sure their trucks, their machines, all of their equipment is supported better than anybody else. We can't do that. Barloworld has to do it, and they're doing a very good job.
Caterpillar's strength has always been predominantly in surface mining equipment. Our recent acquisitions and our extended product range in underground mining products will enable us to expand our solutions to our customers throughout Southern Africa.
So now, as a Caterpillar dealer, we have the largest and broadest range of mining equipment in the industry, and I think this will be an acquisition that stands us in good stead for years to come.
But what about the future? What does doing business the Barloworld way hold for us going forward? Our core business, which is the Caterpillar dealerships, are certainly poised for great results.
Equipment is going to be the flagship of the company for quite some time.
I think in terms of the future, this company is very well placed. We operate in currently 26 countries around the world on 4 continents. But most importantly, we operate where I think there's going to be enormous growth into the future. And that is, we're well placed in Africa and we're well placed in Russia. And in terms of our businesses, both of those continents are very rich in mineral resources, which will stand our mining and equipment businesses in great stead. Both of those areas require significant infrastructure development and power, and we're well placed there.
I would like to see us getting more territory for the equipment division, but also in food security and food production.
Within our materials handling businesses, we remain with our agriculture and handling assets in Southern Africa, and we've recently grown our agriculture business into Russia, which has also a lot of long-term potential.
The motor division has certainly weathered the recent storm and is nicely poised to exploit the synergies within the group. The logistics division is growing steadily and has strong organic and acquisitive growth potential, and its potential is unconstrained by geography. What a journey! From its humble beginnings to becoming a major distributor of leading international brands. What is most impressive, though, is that Barloworld is still recognized as a company with strong moral ethics, where our word is our bond. The business is still underpinned by the values of integrity, excellence, teamwork, and commitment. The same values that we've been living for the last 110 years.
So while the Barloworld business has changed and adapted over the years, our values are something that will live on and will be with us for years to come.
A lot of this culture still stems from the Punch Barlow days. And although today it's a big company, people still feel like they belong to a family.
And I strongly believe, rightly or wrongly, that I've played a part in beginning to make a better country of this wonderful country of ours.
This is the place to be at, because people never leave here. I mean, I'm signing here 20 years of service, 30 years. My own PA, whom I inherited from Tony Phillips, had been here for 43 years. One of the best times that have come to Barloworld is the present time.
Barloworld people are tenacious, resourceful, and driven. So, we get to the end of our story, or the beginning of a new chapter. Barloworld. Our values live on.